Again, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm coming to you with an update on the lawsuit that was filed in Osceola, Arkansas by James Crabb Watson. Well, there has been a answer filed to that petition by James Crabb Watson by the county attorney for the Mississippi County Attorney, Jake Holmes. Uh, that's what we're going to be talking about today, and what I really want you all to engage on, since it is the attorney who's asking that this case be dismissed. So we're going to ask the question: should case be dismissed? Okay, that's what we're going to be talking about. Should this case be dismissed according to the county prosecutor, Mr. Jake Holmes? But before we get to that, I want to speak on something that I made a post about. Do you all remember me making a post that $100,000 was a $100,000 grant, I believe, that was awarded to Blythe Police Department and Mississippi County Sheriff Department? Now, one of the things that I've been concerned about is body cams. Blytheville, they have body cams, okay? We fought until we got that. Now, I'm going to come back and speak to this. You see it right there. Mississippi County Sheriff say no to body cams for deputies. Said it was not a top priority. I disagree with that. And before I end this show, I want to come back and I want to speak to you as to why I believe that this is a missed opportunity for the Mississippi County Sheriff Department to not want to adopt a body cam policy for its deputies. I think it's a missed opportunity, and I think it's a disservice to Mississippi County residents. So I'm going to talk about that before we end this show. So please stick around, okay? But again, what we're going to be talking about today is, like I indicated, according to the lawsuit. I'm going to put it up here on the screen. Should case be dismissed? Okay, so let me just get into it right now. Let me go over here. Let me get into it right now and pull up on the screen, if I may, and let you all sort of follow me along the way. Okay. Now, this is the answer or the response to the petition motion for an injunction, James Crabb Watson. Okay. Now, again, this attorney who's asking for this thing to be dismissed is Mr. I'm trying to find my stuff, y'all. Mr. Jake Holmes. He's the one that is asking for. Now I can't find my. I had everything in place, and now I can't find it. Well, here we go. But anyway, I want you all to follow me. I'm not going to read this here, all of this 11-page response. There's a response to the motion to dismiss, and then there's 7 other pages that actually is a brief. What it is, a brief to support the motion for dismissal. So you got a response to a motion to dismiss, and then you got a brief to support the motion to dismiss. Okay, so again, I'm going to show you each of these pages, but I'm not going to read it all. You can follow along with me, and then I'm going to come back and sort of to see if you all want to engage in on the question, should this case be dismissed? Okay, so let's go to this first page, and we're going to jump around in it. As you can clearly see, this is was filed in the Osceola, Mississippi County Circuit Court Civil Division down in Osceola, Arkansas. Okay, This is a response to the motion to dismiss. Uh, uh, I want to say this is the response. Let me get it right. Yeah, that's what it is. Uh, Motion to dismiss. That's what it is. Okay. Again, you already know that it's the petitioner, plaintiff. That's pretty much the same thing. When you hear me say petition, I'm talking about the plaintiff, Mr. James Crabb Watson, and he's suing the Mississippi County Election Commissioner. It didn't name all the board of commissioners, but they are named when you see Mississippi County Election Commission. You actually speaking about all those people I named before, all right? But it did mention uh, Joe Harris Jr., Melissa Logan, and Janice Curry. Uh, that's how the uh, it's titled in terms of this response. That is, and basically what it say is that I want to let you know that comes down to Mississippi County Election Commissioner Joe Harris Jr., Melissa Logan, and Janice Curry here and after respondents by and through their attorney, Jake Holmes, for their response to the petition filed by James Crabb Watson. Okay. Um, for their motion to dismiss the petition of James Crabb Watson and all candidates with similar interests in the Mississippi County election process, and now states as follows. Again, I'm just gonna scroll down and just let you all just look at that, and then I'm going to page 2. Okay, we're not going to really read a whole lot of this stuff. We're going to jump to the statement of the case, which is coming up now. Okay, the statement of the case. Actually, what this actually is setting the ground in terms of why they are bringing this motion for dismissal. If you can see there, it say respondents lack sufficient sufficient knowledge, so to admit or deny the allegations in the first 4.5 lines of the introduction paragraph, so in effect denies. So they denying a lot of the things that was alleged in the petitioner filing. There you see the respondent denied the remaining allegations in the introduction paragraph. Respondent denied all allegations contained within paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 that warranted such a response. 6. Respondent denied all allegations contained within the section titled conclusion that warranted such a response. Okay. We got respondents deny the wherefore clause. Number 8, respondents deny all other allegations that have not otherwise been mentioned in their response. Then you have the motion for dismissal, okay? The motion for dismissal come down to Mississippi County Election Commissioner Joe Harris Jr., Melissa Logan, and Janice Curry, hearing and after respondents by and through their attorney, Jake Holmes, and now pleading in the affirmative. Respondents now move this court to dismiss the action filed by petitioner in states as follows. Number 9, petitioner failed to state facts which relief may be granted. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and move to the next page. The next page, like I say, we're just going to jump through this here. If you go down to, I want to read right, say number 11. Sentence, starting with that paragraph number 11. Separated respondent, Melissa Logan, asserts that this court does not have personal jurisdiction over her person. Okay, we're going to stop right there. Do you remember me telling you all that I didn't know why Miss Melissa Logan was named in this case, considering this was a case that was filed by someone from Osceola, and they had complaints about what went on in the Osceola election. And so that's why I didn't see how it tied to Melissa Logan. And so paragraph 11 asking that, in so many words, they asking that, she be, struck from the record. They say that this case don't involve her. Personal jurisdiction. Personal jurisdiction is that you must have personal jurisdiction not just to hear this case, but even in some cases the person. You know, uh, if you don't have personal jurisdiction over the person, then there go your case. All right, and also it's the county case that you hear. All right, number 12. Okay, respondents affirmatively plead any and all matters constituting an avoidance of defense pursuant to Arkansas Rules of Civil Procedure number 8. And that's basically the last of that page right there uh, on the motion to respond. And it's saying that wherefore, and they asking for attorney fees. As you can see right there, it simply says that, let me get it. It says, wherefore, having fully answered respondents' request that the complaint be dismissed in its entirety with prejudice. They asking that this case be dismissed with prejudice. With prejudice mean it can't be filed again. All right. That they each be awarded attorney fees. Each one of these defendants is asking for attorney fees and costs and defense of this action and for all further relief as the court may deem just and proper. Respectfully submitted, Mississippi County Election Commissioner Joe Harris Jr., Melissa Logan, and Janice Carey, by their attorney, Jake Holmes. All right. So that was that. All right. We're going to move to this last little court filing, which is this is the brief in support to dismiss. All right. We're going to jump around on that. Okay. We're not going to read all these 7 pages. 7 pages. We're going to jump around on it. Okay. As you can clearly see that, it's just stating that on November the 28th, 2022, James Crabb Watson acting as pro se. That word pro se, what do y'all remember what I told you all about that? That word pro se? Pro se meaning what? Pro se meaning this exactly right here. Appearing to represent himself or herself. Okay, that's what we're talking about when we speaking about pro se. To represent himself or herself. In other words, they don't have an attorney. All right. And so we go back up here and continue to read. We're going to jump down to that middle paragraph number 2. Let's do that. Okay. Let's find out what they're talking about here. All right. Number 2. It say this action is styled as a preliminary injunction. However, it also cites to the statutory authority for election contests. Therefore, it shall be presumed that the action is also intended to be such a contest in addition to a request for a preliminary injunction. The petitioner complaint should be dismissed for being non-justifiable as no injury in fact is alleged by petitioner. Furthermore, it is facially deficient as it relates to Mr. Watson's legal standing. We want to talk about number 2 and number 3. Number 2 and number 3 is simply saying is that what kind of case is this here? Is this, are we talking about a preliminary injunction or are we talking about an election contest? The reason that they mentioned that is because, as he stated here in the filing, if you're talking about a preliminary injunction, actually you're talking about something as it relates to statutory. Whereas when you start talking about this preliminary injunction, we're looking for how have a person been harmed. Is there anything that the court need to act to protect one? It could be something in regards to rules of civil procedure. Whereas what the attorney is stating is that, the rules of civil procedure don't apply to an election contest. All right. And he goes on to say in paragraph 3, as you can see, it say that Mr. Watson, they want to know what's his legal standing. All right. Uh, and I want you all to go down to a paragraph. I'm going to go real slow and just let you all see this here, but we're going down to paragraph 8. Okay. That's where we're going, to paragraph 8. And I'm just going slow where you all can see this here in case you want to play it back on your cell phone or your computer or whatever. But number 8 is what we're going to. And I'm just doing this here where you all might want to go back and read this stuff later, okay? But there we go, number 8. We're coming up to number 8. Let's read number 8. It say, this court does not have subject matter jurisdiction. Remember we talked about that? Subject matter jurisdiction. In other words, is this a case for this court? Okay, when we start talking about subject matter jurisdiction, is this a case for this court in terms of the matters that the petitioner wants to present? Is this the proper court? Does this court have jurisdiction of the subject matter? All right. And so that's what they're talking about there. Is this the right court to hear this case? All right. And it goes on to say, claims brought on behalf of any candidate beyond those petitioner, Watson, and the Osceola Merrill race. Now, what they're saying to that is that they're saying claims brought on the behalf of any candidates beyond those of Mr. Watson. Remember, I said pro se, you represent yourself. You cannot represent anyone else. And so when they start talking about other candidates with similar interests or what have you, as I stated, if Mr. James Watson is the petitioner, he can only make arguments as it pertains to himself and not any other candidate who he's claiming may have similar interests. All right. And we're going to go to number 9 when we'll try to wrap this thing up. Petitioner attempts to represent. Do you see that? That first few words there in number 9. It's a petitioner attempts to represent all candidates with similar interests in the Mississippi County election process. However, no class was ever certified pursuant to Rule 23 of the Arkansas Rules of Civil Procedure. No such certification would even be appropriate since the class is immediately identifiable and is in fact identified by petitioner as the losing candidate who were listed on the ballot in the 2022 election for Mississippi County, Arkansas. Now, do you see number 9 there? What this paragraph number 9 is actually alluding to is that petitioner is attempting to represent all candidates. Now, that's what the attorney is alleging, that in number 9, that the petitioner, he's coming not just as a pro se litigant, in other words, a person who represented himself, but the number 9 is indicating that the petitioner is stating in so many words that he represents all candidates with similar interests. Remember me telling you that? You cannot represent anyone else. You can only represent yourself. Now, he also made reference to, when I say he, I mean the county attorney, about this being somewhat of a class, where you get probably, what is it? I think 3 or 4 more people somewhere in there. 4 people or more, it's considered a class action. There's nothing in the filing that indicate that this is a class action lawsuit. As I stated, you will find nothing in the court record to where Mayberry, since his name was mentioned, has filed anything in regards to a indicating that he also has enjoined in this lawsuit. There's nothing in the record to show that. Okay. Now, let's go to number 10. All right. Let's go to number 10. That's page 3. We'll get through this here real quickly, and then I'll go to my board. It say, furthermore, the attempt, again, it's mentioned that word representative. Furthermore, the attempted representative class is not so numerous that joiner would be impossible. This may be adequately demonstrated by Mr. Watson, joiner, and attempted representation of Mr. John Mayberry. Do you see that? Do you really see that? Now there's another allegation that has been made by the county attorney. So many words, he's saying that it's as if in the writing of Mr. James Crabb Watson is that he also is coming in the road to where he's representing Mr. John Mayberry. This is in the court filing. You see that. Number 10, right there at the very bottom. And as I stated, Mr. Mayberry have not did anything but file an affidavit. He have not filed nothing on his behalf, or he have not filed nothing that showed to where he enjoined in on this lawsuit. Now, if something coming on the back end, okay, we'll talk about the back end. But from the front end to today, as I checked the court docket today, there is nothing in the court filing that show that John Mayberry has made any such filing, whereas he has enjoined on this lawsuit. You won't find nothing in the court record. All right. Okay, number 12. It's a defendant, Melissa Logan, should additionally be dismissed from this action. Let me pull it over. That's what they're saying. From this action. All right. Do you remember me all telling y'all that? That's why I stated I didn't know why Mrs. Melissa Logan was even named in the lawsuit, considering these was some disputes that occurred in Osceola, Arkansas, not Blythe, Osceola, Arkansas. All right. And I'm not going to read this other stuff, but as you can clearly see, we're getting down to 14, is just simply saying that the election results have already been certified. Okay. And that word where you see number 15 to where it say, therefore, this injunction is moot. That word moot, which means if something was predicted to happen, it already done happened. It done took place. It's done. So why we're here, why we're talking about something to where something that the injunction is asked to stop in its place, it's already done. So if it's already done, it's a moot issue. Okay? And so therefore he's saying that this case should be dismissed for non-justifiable. All right? We're going over to page 4 is where we at right now. Election contest. That's what he's using this as a legal standard. He also mentioned a statutory law there, that somewhat support. It said the remainder of the petitioner pleading should be treated as in what? Election contest, pursuant to what? Arkansas State Statute 75801, which confers the right upon any candidate to contest the certification of either the nomination or the vote of contested. Election contests are special. Let me put that down. Election contests are special. Number 17, where we at? Are special, that are purely statutory in nature. Therefore, the rules of civil procedure do not apply. So what attorney is saying that we're talking about an election contest, all right? And what he's saying is that if there's any arguments to where the rules of civil procedure need to apply, it don't. Okay? This is an election contest. So therefore, the rules of civil procedure do not apply. As you can see, Arkansas Rules of Civil Procedure, page 81, if you want to read, procedure 81, excuse me. It say the candidate must what? On number 18, a prima facie case. I'm pretty sure many of you have heard that word. What it's saying is that a prima facie case is which means you have put on a case in terms of you have shown facts to where if a court was to hear your petition, they will find just cause possibly to rule in your favor. Okay. In other words, there's enough information there for the court to hear, uh, your case. All right. That's basically what that's saying. I don't think it's no more else. Let me see. Official sufficiently must contest, include number of votes. There's nothing else on this uh, page. No more than 19 is saying that uh, that the petitioner, uh, a facially sufficient election contest must include the number of votes received by each candidate so that, assuming the claimant allegations are true, it may demonstrate that the adjusted vote count that the claimant has more votes than their opponent. Okay? Uh, and it goes on to say in the argument there on page 5, it goes on to say that petitioner complaint failed to sufficiently plead what? Facts for which relief may be granted. Therefore, this matter ought to be dismissed. All right. You go down there to number 23. It's saying that petitioner alleged that 370 votes, 370 million votes were not counted. Petitioner does not affirmably state that all 370 votes would have been for Watson. Petitioner does not identify these 370 votes. So what the attorney is saying is that even if we're having a conversation about the 370 votes, there have not been any information that will show that all 370 votes would have been for Mr. Watson. That's what I'm thinking that the attorney is stating in this petition. It's filing, excuse me. It say petitioner, we move down to number 24. It say petitioner does not affirmably state, well, we read that. Number 25. Even if both of these requirements had been performed, petitioner remained mathematically precluded from demonstrating any set of circumstances that would not result in Joe Harris Jr. receiving a majority of the votes. The purpose of election contests are to verify that the candidate with the most legal votes won the election. Okay? Petitioner has failed to allege any set of facts showing that someone other than Joe Harris Jr. received the most votes. Number 27, it say, although petitioner did not have standing to contest the Blytheville mayoral race, it should be noted that the same deficiencies further warrant the dismissal. I'm gonna put dismissal. That's what their word is. Dismissal against Melissa Logan in concerning the Blytheville mayoral race. 28. It talks about the dirty votes. You hear a lot about the dirty votes. It say petitioner make reference to 2 dirty votes, and then further allege that 2 voters were permitted to identify themselves through a household utility bill, and that was done at the polls. Petitioner does not identify these 2 voters. Petitioner does not list the number of votes cast in the Blytheville election. Okay? Petitioner does not affirmably state that these 2 votes were cast for Logan. Okay? So it just goes on to say where the petitioner has failed to present a set of facts to where it shows or warranted that if there is a judgment to be awarded, that the petitioner has not presented enough information. Okay? And it just goes on to down at the bottom, we closing out. They say, wherefore, for the reasons stated herein, respondents pray that this court summarily dismiss this matter with prejudice and for all other just and equitable relief. Okay, and so that's the end of that filing. Again, respectfully submitted Mississippi County Election Commissioner Joe Harris Jr., Melissa Logan, and Janice Carey, who are being represented by the Mississippi County Attorney Jake Holmes. All right. So that was my breaking news for today. Let me get rid of this here. That was my breaking news for today, and I hope that I have showed something to you all that will indicate where we at. I'm still trying to get out of here. Y'all just bear with me. That will indicate where we at today. All right. And so let me close this out, y'all. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. I'm trying to close out some stuff, and it just won't let me. Okay. There we go. But anyway, that is the breaking news for today. So what do you all think? Do you think that we're talking about subject matter and jurisdiction? In other words, subject matter is, some of the things that the petitioner is asking a court to hear, and in order to hear that, those matters must be proper for the court to even entertain a hearing. And then we talk about jurisdiction of personal matters, or the person, shall I say, excuse me, Melissa Logan. Do the court actually have jurisdiction even to consider Miss Logan to even be a defendant? Does the court have jurisdiction over her personally? And so those are the things that the county attorney, in a nutshell, is saying that this court, as it relates to subject matter and jurisdiction, not to mention that the votes have been certified, and that word where he said that this is considered a moot issue, so therefore the case should be dismissed. All right. So again, should this case be dismissed? So what do you say? We're going to go over here to the board. Like I see some comments over here. Don't you all forget, we're coming back. Stay with me. Mississippi County Sheriff say no to body cams for its deputies. He said it wasn't a top priority. So we're going to talk about that before we close. All right. But back to the question. That's not the question. Where's the question at? There go the question. Should case be dismissed? Let's go to the board and see who we have here. Okay, we say, how you doing, Mrs. William? How you doing? Okay, what do we have here? They all need body cams. Okay, you stick around, Miss Lomax, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about that before we close out. All right. And I need for you to keep your thought, and I need for you to pretty much get your question or your statement together as to why you believe that body cams are needed. Okay. Thank you. How you doing, Miss Logan? Who else we have here? That's Miss Logan. She yet coming on here. Let me see what she got. All police and sheriff need them body cameras. All right. How you doing, Miss Jackson? I've been so busy today. I saw your call today, and I was gonna call you back, but I've been very, very busy day today. But of course, if not tonight, I give you a call tomorrow. What's this here? So Janice Carey, I really believe, need to be removed. She lies heritage. What's that? She lied Heritage Square. You mean she lied about Heritage Square or what? I need for you to clarify your statement there. I'm not really. I'm thinking I know what you mean, but I'd like for you to go ahead and say what you mean. So if you would, please. But anyway, then we have Miss Carolyn Thompson. How you doing, Sister Thompson? You doing all right? Hope everything is well with you and your family. And so we got a bunch of hellos or what have you. And so if we don't have anyone that want to speak to the question that I had put up here, which was simply saying, should this case be dismissed? if you all do not want to speak to that, then I'm going to go ahead and move to speaking on the body cams, and then I'm gonna close this thing out. All right. Uh, you will not hear any more from me about this election uh, confusion that we're talking about right now. The next time you'll hear from me will most likely be when the judge make a ruling, either to let this injunction go forward or the judge will dismiss this action. So that's the next time you hear from me, okay? So if there is no other questions over here, and I don't see any, let me go back to my board. I don't see any. I'm going to go ahead and move on to speaking about uh, the Mississippi County sheriff said no to body cams for deputies. Said it wasn't a top priority. I will say this here. I was very, very, very disappointed. Uh, the position that Mississippi County Sheriff Dale Cook, I'm very, very disappointed. The reason I say that I'm disappointed is because I've had a real good working relationship with Sheriff Cook. You know, I even went so far, based on how much we have talked it over the years. You know, I considered him a friend. You normally hear me say that I either consider someone a friend. If you're not a friend, you something else. And so when somebody say, well, you know, he ain't your friend. Well, if he ain't my friend or she ain't my friend, she's something else. But I can say that I have considered uh, Mr. Dale Cook a friend over the years of our working together. And so it was very, very disappointed to, I was very, very disappointed to hear him say no, that body cams was not a top priority. He mentioned some other things that he was looking to do, and so I did send him an FOI, trying to do a follow up on those things that he talked about. And there's been so much other uh, funding that have come down through local law enforcement agency as well as the county law enforcement agency. I'm speaking about the CARES funding. Some may refer to it as the rescue funding. We have had millions and millions of dollars to come through this county. But let's talk about body cams. Body cams is something that can be very effective in the use of police officers. What am I saying? Number one, it serves a purpose for the officer himself in terms of safety, okay? In terms of complaints, someone may allege that the officer may have planted something on them. It could be drugs, it could be a weapon or anything. They could make a complaint that they was physically assaulted by the particular officer. Well, if you had a body cam can prove otherwise. It's to protect the police officers, to say that the police officer, he complied within not just the policy but the law. He did not hit someone in the back of the head that was handcuffed. He did not unnecessarily tase someone. Okay, he did not illegally plant drugs on someone. Okay, he did not illegally, shoot someone. You know, we hear this thing. What? Remember the famous word, "Hands up, don't shoot." You know, the person cannot lie that the officer did not give him or her a command. Command and comply. You hear me say that? When an officer give a command, now come the comply. All right. So body cams play a very important role in protecting the police officer if they have a body cam. If it is to protect the police officer, his safety, as well as it also protect the police officers from what? From liability, complaints. Okay, trying to say that the officer did something that was either against policy or illegal. So body cams serve a very effective and necessary purpose in the work of police officers. Now, let's talk about how it serves the public, transparency, all right? Because if an officer know that the camera is rolling, I know we have seen officers in, probably in the past couple of years, even going back to George Floyd, to where because of that body cam is how the community was protected. The officer initially might have lied that he didn't have his knee on the neck of George Floyd, but by the body cam we saw differently, didn't we? The same thing when it comes to what's another case? The young man, I think that was in was it Minnesota? Uh, Young man was shot by the lady cop. Again, she acted not according to policy. Okay, and what's my boy, the jogger, Amal Arbery, I think his name. I might be pronouncing it wrong. The guy who was jogging was these vigilantes who lied, even had the certain local officials. When I'm talking about local officials, it was also people who I think one of them sit on the judgeship. They all tried to cover up this. In fact, they did cover it up. I think they covered this case up for what, way over a year. Okay, but someone came forward with some video cameras that it was from a cell phone or whatever. Now we catch them with their pants down. We catch them with egg running all down their face. So what initially was told to the public was misleading, and in some cases it was downright a lie. So body cam footage as well as cell phones, they are very effective in terms of helping us to ensure what? Safety, to hold down liabilities, complaints against the police department. All right. So it plays its part. All right. It plays its part. These body cams are very effective for a prosecutor who's trying to put on his or her case. And so when I hear that body cams is not top priority, I'm really disturbed by that. So that's just my little 2 cents on it. I'm going to stay on this here. We do need to get body cams for the Mississippi County deputies. We do really need to get on that. Hopefully, come 2023, I'm going to aggressively pursue this issue in regards to body cams for the Mississippi County sheriff deputies. All right. So if we don't have any other complaints as it relates to the election or Mississippi County Sheriff Dale Cook saying no to body cam, saying that it's just not a top priority, then I'm going to go ahead and close out on this. I see I do get 3 other comments. It say, let me try to see if I can blow this up a little bit where I can read it, okay? Let me blow this up a little bit. Okay. Let me go up here and do this. I want to blow this up a little bit where I can see it. Because sometimes my eyes go to stretching a little bit. Let's see what I can see on this right here. Okay, I can see that a little better. Now let's go back to the comments. Now, where we at? There go the comments. It say, where were we? Where were we? It say, oh, there we go, right there. Okay, here we go. Miss Lomax. She said, why they need body cams is because anything can happen with traffic stops. Again, we're talking about traffic violations. We done had a number of people going back to Sandra Bland, I think was her name, to where she lost her life. That was a traffic stop. The young man and many Minnesota, a traffic stop, shot by the lady cop. You know, uh, same thing with George Floyd. Traffic stop. End up and lost his life, and I can just go on and on and on and on. And so body cams can make all the difference to whether a person go home that particular day or night. Body cams can make all the difference. All right. Uh, Another one, and it protects the citizens. Exactly. It protects the officers as well as the citizens. We talked about that. Uh, Good insight. We got Mrs. Cannon. How you doing, Mrs. Cannon? It got, well, the Blava police officers have, but it didn't do any good when it came to my nephew, Rayshawn. Rayshawn, it's a lot that was heard and saw. Everything but the police offers didn't continue to work and still worked. Well, I will say this here, Mrs. Cannon. I don't think it was the fact that body cams uh, was overlooked. I think it was more so how the attorney, Mr. Harris, pursued the case. I mean, that's just my thing. I think the case, first of all, it was filed the wrong way. It only named one person, which was, what is his name, Officer Driscoll. When there was a number of other people there out there on the site, the body cam physically showed that. How can they not see to charge other individuals? They're looking at the body cam. How can they not see that there are more than one officer that contributed to the death of Rayshawn Warren? Had we not saw that body cam, had I not did my FOI and got the information that I received it, I would have been just like everyone else, thinking that it was only one officer that should be held accountable, and that was Officer Driscoll. But because of the body cam, that's why body cams are necessary. But because of the body cam, we learned that there was other people who was involved, and that there was other people who should have been charged. There was at least two other police officers. One, in fact, the camera showed where he had his knee on Rayshawn and showed where he choked him out. Showed the paramedics how they treated him indifferent, inhumane. But the attorney chose not to name those people in the lawsuit. So it wasn't because of the body cams, but it was because of the decision that the attorney chose not to charge those other officers and not to do those things in terms of discovery. There was a lot of other things that the attorney should have filed a motion of discovery to ask for whatever information that was needed to help prove that case. Mr. Harris didn't do that. In fact, then he got sick. And then there was another gentleman, I think he works over in Jonesboro now. I imagine that he could have still continued the case, but for some reason or another, the case it went stale. It went stale to the point to where the statute of limitation caught up with it, and the judge had no other choice but to dismiss the case because it went stale. It was doormat. I mean, no one was doing anything. So it wasn't because of the body cam. Body cam served its purpose. We know now the truth. Just because no one has been charged, we know the truth. We know what happened. But had we not had the body cams, we would never know. Okay? It don't protect the citizen. It didn't help my nephew. Well, we talked about that. It doesn't matter. Them police still should have been held accountable. The chief didn't do his job. It's all about, when we talking about held accountable, I'm talking about, what are you talking about, a civil action? That's one thing. You're talking about a criminal action, that's another thing. But if you're talking about policies, I'm agreeing with you when it comes to policy. Policies, Mayor James Sanders, who is the present mayor right now. Mayor James Sanders, at the least, should have fired every police officer that took part in the death of Ray Sean. Mayor Sanders could have fired those cops. He could have done that, but he chose not to. He could have fired the police chief for a whole bucket loads of inadequate job performance, but he chose not to. So when it comes to policy, I'm agreeing with you that something could have been done. But when you go into a court of law, that it be civil or that it be criminal, you have to present your evidence in order to get a judgment. Okay? So that's pretty much all we have, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you all for, well, how much time we got? Man, I know we've been on that long. I thank you all for tuning in. And again, like I say, you will not see me anymore unless, of course, the judge bring a ruling in the injunction case. All right. And someone has stated to me on my Facebook, and I'm getting ready to close. Someone has stated to me, said something to the effect, they filed the case wrong. I'm like, how in the heck you filed the case wrong? You know, it should have said, I think what it said it should have said Mayberry, and I'm thinking they're saying that it should have said Mayberry and James Watson. And I'm like, if I'm your attorney and you done paid me to file a lawsuit for you, then hell, I'm supposed to get it right. I'm supposed to know who are the plaintiff and who are the defendants. So if the case was filed in James Crab Watson name only, then you have to look at the person who filed it. You can't go back and say, what it said that, but it should have said this. That's what happened when you file a case pro se. If you don't know what you're doing, okay, you need to hire you an attorney. That's the first thing I tell folks. Everybody think that I'm a lawyer. I ain't no lawyer. All I have is a criminal justice degree and a paralegal degree. That's all I have. You know, and the first thing I'm going to tell you, especially, you know, if you really don't know what you're doing, you don't know. I mean, you just as dumb as a doorknob. You don't know what you're doing. I'm going to tell you, you need to go and hire you an attorney. Okay? You need to be represented by an attorney. So this is what happened when you have people that file a legal action. They come pro se. If you don't know what you're doing, you need to hire you an attorney. Now, I don't know where this case is going to go in terms of this injunction, but I will say the answer to the petition, I will say Attorney Jake Holmes, he made a very compelling case in his answer to the petition as to why this case should be dismissed. Now, does that mean that it will be dismissed? No. But I'm just looking at his response to the complaint. And he made some very interesting remarks, if you will, to say the least, in layman terms. But he made a very compelling case as to why this case should be dismissed. If nothing else, and I'm going to stick to what I said back here last week. If anyone is to be stricken from the record as a defendant, it will be Mrs. Melissa Logan. There is nothing in the filing of the complaint that will show that Mrs. Logan should be held accountable for any wrongdoing that occurred in Osceola, Arkansas. She will be struck. There will be a striking. She will be struck from this lawsuit. Trust me. You know, if I was a betting man, I bet you. Or a gambling man, I bet you. But anyway, that's all I have, ladies and gentlemen. I see we got one other comment. I'm gonna hit it and we gone. It say, it's just saying good night. Good night to you, Mrs. Karen Lomax. But that's all I have, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all will enjoy the remainder of this day. I'm getting ready to go in here and probably get me a snack and watch me a little television. So, peace and love. God bless. Good night. And hopefully I will see you again when the ruling is given in regards to this injunction. So peace and love. Good night.